Laurie, thank you so much for meeting me today. We're going to talk a little bit about your charity work with the Somali Mam Foundation. Human trafficking has always been a global issue. What is it about human trafficking that has led you to want to campaign against it?
Well, I think it's an epidemic that a lot of people are not aware of. Currently, there are 27 million people enslaved throughout the world, and when we talk about trafficking, we're talking about servitude, enslavement, and it's not just domestic servitude. There's also sexual slavery, where around the world, even in the United States and Canada, small children and women are sold into prostitution. Many of them are kidnapped, sold by their parents, for money. It's a really terrible. It's shocking to actually think that this exists, but it does, and it's something that I'm very passionate about because these women and children are victims, and it's kind of appalling that in today's society that this is happening today, and nobody really talks about it.
So what is it about this issue in particular that made you want to address it as opposed to other social justice problems in the world?
Well, it goes back. How I got to the Somali Mom Foundation is during the writer's strike, I volunteered to work in a creche, a daycare center for AIDS orphans in Africa. And when I was there, I learned that a lot of the children aged 6 months to 6 years old who had AIDS were there because they were raped. Because in Africa, India, Cambodia, and many places around the world, they believe that if you have sex with a virgin, that you'll be cured of AIDS. So many men are having sex with infants and small children, thinking they'll be cured. When I met Somaly, she was talking about these young girls. Some are the age of 2 in these brothels in Cambodia that have been sold into sexual slavery. The reason it particularly appealed to me was that I had already been exposed to the sex with a virgin myth, and I became aware of the horrors of raping and a business for babies and infants and small children, because Cambodia is the pedophilia capital of the world. And when I went over there and I met these small children that were sold by their mothers for the price of a theater ticket, I could not help but get involved. And I think that particularly knowing that these small children are being brutalized in this way, it just broke my heart, and it led me on this crusade to just make sure that I can do whatever I can to make sure that this stops.
Now, this seems to be an issue that has been kept somewhat quiet. At least in Canada, we're a few years behind in campaigning against this. Why do you think that is?
I think it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. Frankly, it's so funny because there's the tip reports that come out, and people talk about all these other countries where trafficking's a problem. People don't want to think that it's happening in North America, but it's a huge epidemic here, and basically, it's uncomfortable. You don't want to think that something so disgusting is happening, in our civilized, wonderful, country, but it's true. And as I was saying earlier, it's not just domestic labor, but they're importing children from all over the world and putting them into prostitution, putting them in pornographic movies. A lot of these sweet little girls that you see at truck stops all across Canada and the U.S., they're not there by choice. Some of them might have been runaways, but a lot of them are being trafficked. And you just think that it's a street kid. There's a much bigger story going on.
What is your ultimate goal with the Somali Mam Foundation and working with them? What would you like to see ultimately happen working with these people?
Well, to increase funding. We just formed the Somali Mom Foundation Canada, so I want to get that more up and running. But basically to raise awareness, get more funding, to rescue as many of these girls as we can. What I love about Somaly, because she was trafficked herself, I don't know, you know, at the age of 12 she was raped and sold to a brothel and tortured for years, and when she escaped at the age of 17, 18, she dedicated her life to going back in there and making sure that other girls didn't have the same fate as her. And she's just the most incredible human being I've ever met in my life. What I love about this foundation is that not only do they have rescue efforts, but once they're there, they're given a proper education, psychological services. Some of them are becoming lawyers. And I have been to Cambodia, and I've seen these broken little girls, and then seen them a couple years later with the love of Somali and the Somali Mom Foundation workers. And they're just full of hope and life, and it's just the power of healing and love. It works.
So when we present this video in Calgary at the Calgary Expo and we're talking to people about the charity, what would you suggest to those who are interested in really trying to get involved and trying to make a difference? What first steps could they possibly take to raising awareness, raising money, all that fun stuff?
Well, first go on the website and read about it. I suggest that people read Somaly's book. It's a very quick read. It's incredible. It's her life story.
Yes.
Because to know her is to love her, and to read her book, you just can't help but, you know, want to take action. There's so many things that people are doing all around the world, and it's so funny. Like, people think, oh, you know, what can I do? Oh, I wish I had more time. If I did, I would do this. It takes so little. You can, you know, do a fundraiser at your high school. Yeah. You can do a bike race across Canada and get sponsored, and the money can go towards trafficked kids. There's so many little things that people can do, and there's so many teenagers I know all around the world that are just kind of putting their thinking caps on and saying, how can I make a difference? How can I raise some money? How can I make sure that this little girl gets an education, or I can help in this capacity? And you know, I don't know, I think if we all just did a little bit, we can make a huge difference.
And was it your work with this charity that inspired you to want to get your MA in human rights? Because you're studying, aren't you?
Yes, I was accepted to Columbia. It's a little tricky right now with my zombie show.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, after living in Africa and spending time in Cambodia, I was invited to Washington, and I spoke at USAID about human trafficking. And I think the reason why I wanted to get my master's in human rights was that I didn't want to be just an actress. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to have more qualifications. I wanted to be taken more seriously, and I thought that senators and politicians and people in government positions might listen to my voice more if I was qualified. And that's the reason why I did, because I'm so passionate about it, and I want to do what I can. Mind you, I'm also very grateful for being an actress, because I realize that I'm in a position where I can reach a lot of people with what I do. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can.
Great. Thank you so much, Laurie, for chatting with us about this today. And
Thank you.
I really hope that this will make a big difference for a lot of people in Calgary who
I
watch
hope
it.
so too. And I just want to give a shout out to Canada, because I'm Canadian. I love you. I wish I could be at Calgary Expo, but I have to go shoot zombies.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.